Welcome to the InstantCast for, what is this, Ren? This is game number 4, Bucs versus Patriots. And I am Brent Allen, your host. With me, as always, is none other than the famous or infamous, depending on your viewpoint, Ren Daxt. Ren, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Yes, I like the not so what we calling this? A not so instant
It's
cast?
the not so instant cast tonight, yeah.
The not so instant cast, which is true, very true. But lots of venom out there being poured onto. Surprisingly, not all going at the kicker.
Right, yeah. There's lots of that. There's some of it that's being spread around, some more so than other. And Ren, I definitely think we are going to be talking about that tonight. It is the not so instant cast. Bucs fans know what's going on right now, but just for the record, for posterity, as people might stumble upon this particular episode later in the podcast feed, the Buccaneers played the New England Patriots this past Thursday night. This is Sunday night, which is our normal instant cast time. This is a show that is generally designed to allow the fans and Ren, you and I, to be able to discuss the game fairly fresh off the game, usually within just a couple of hours after the game, so the emotions are usually still raw. We've not gotten a chance to watch game film again or see press conferences or many things like that. So, it's that initial catharsis of just sort of getting stuff out there. And then our main show later in the week really is, cooler heads have prevailed. We've gotten a chance to calm down and take a look at things. But, this particular week, it was a Thursday night game. Game didn't get over till almost midnight.
Right.
Penny and I, as you put it, the baby mama got to come with me, which was really fun. I love getting to hang out with her, which is probably the reason why we're married. But it was a lot of fun having her there, and we actually didn't get out of the parking lot until 1. It just took that long. Yeah, it was pretty packed getting out of there. So trying to do this on Thursday night was just not going to work, and so kind of played it by ear through the weekend, and family stuff kind of took precedence. So here we are at our normal time slot, 9 o'clock Sunday night, whatever the date is, October the 8th, something like that. Not really so instant, Ren.
No, it's not really so instant, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting it out there. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
We don't get a paycheck. What are you gonna do? Game ended at 1.
Right. We could charge money for this, and then I guess we would be beholden to those who are giving us money, but not. This is a fun hobby for the both of us, and just a great way to express our fandom and to share our fandom with all of our friends out there, our fellow Buccaneer fans. So we are here tonight. Let's see here. Quick recap. Buccaneers lost 19-14. A lot of people are pointing the blame at one person or another. You could say it goes to the kicker who missed, 3 field goals over the course of the night, left 9 points on the field that way. Could be Jameis, who really didn't get going until the fourth quarter. Could be Dirk Cutter with play calling. Could be Jason Light, because he's never found us a kicker. It could be the guy selling concession stands over in the Concourse B area. I don't know why, but it seems like plenty of blame is getting spread around for this loss. Ren, you care to give us any clarity on what's going on out there in Buccaneer fandom?
Everyone's freaking out. I mean, don't forget about Hargraves.
Oh yeah, Hargraves. Yeah.
He disappeared. He was more of a game, game day or game night whipping boy there, in social media. So the next day, he was kind of forgotten, and then it very quickly shifted to play calling and Dirk Cutter. And I think that's mostly because of what was said on TV. Some of the guys were like, this is just basic football. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not necessarily anything wrong with that. Because if you start looking at the tape, you've heard Dirk Cutter in both his press conferences after the game, and the one they had, I guess, was Friday. Yeah, they had one Friday before, the guys got the weekend off. He said both times that Jameis needs to go further in his progressions. Mm-hmm. And as you watch the tape, that's what you sort of saw. So sort of as an early sort of, get on one side of this or the other, I think that the Dirk Cutter play calling, like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a terrible play caller. I'm still very against that. And I think it's more of Jameis Winston's accuracy and Jameis Winston's progression through his receivers, I believe is sort of the problem, why they didn't move the ball as well as they should. And to be honest with you, even though Jameis wasn't on target the first 3 quarters, he did make some fantastic throws in the fourth, but his running backs didn't help him out. Cam Brate didn't help him out. Cam Brate had like 4 drops.
One of them
Charles
in the end
Sims, it was behind him, but he should have caught it.
Right.
Doug Martin dropped 2. The first one is we'll probably talk about that. I think Doug Martin just like his depth perception was off. It looked like he went to grab the ball and it wasn't there to him yet. The second one just went through his hands. So, I mean, tit for tat, whatever, frustrating game, but I really was surprised how quickly it seems the fan base has turned on Dirk Cutter's play calling ability and Jameis' ability to go through his progressions or basically read defenses, where to distribute the ball properly.
Well, those are 2 things I know that I definitely want to get in and talk about. I want to pause here and just give a quick shout out to everybody who is joining us live at Mixler.com. Everybody who's in the chat room over there. If you are listening to this, you want to jump into this on a future show, the URL, the web address is Mixler, Mixlr. They do one of those funny new age spellings, right, Ren? Mixler.com/ThePewterCast. We're here Sunday nights, 9 o'clock, just about every Sunday night, at least 4 away games. And stay tuned for home games. But
yes, very fluid on home games.
Very fluid on home games, but you guys can stay tuned, and you guys can call in. For those of you guys who are here, the phone number is 864-729-2827. That's 864-729-BUCS, and we would be glad to talk to you. We'll take your call. You can give your opinion. I do want to remind everybody this is a PG-13 show, so we ask you to, just control a little bit of the language there. We're not asking you to be perfect saints, but we would like for people to be able to listen to this in the car with their kids. So welcome to all of you guys. I'll make sure we drop the phone number in the chat room there. Ren, let's focus on the play calling, because you were bringing that up. I was watching the Green Bay Cowboys game earlier tonight.
4 o'clock game.
Yeah, the 4 o'clock game. I mean, my brain's fried right now. Great game. Very good game. Went all the way down to the end of it. It's the only other game that I got to watch this particular weekend. And, it's funny. I can remember at least once throughout the game that either Troy Aikman or whoever the other guy is that was calling with him tonight had said, wow, I don't understand that play call. I don't understand why they're running that play right now. It seems like this isn't just something that the people who are announcing on TV just do with Dirk Cutter. This is something that, like I said, this is the only other game that I've watched this weekend. But I would imagine this might be something that is said around the league by the guys who are on TV who are commentating, going, I don't really know why he's running that play. And for our fans to. And in some cases, rightly so. I understand how the TV announcers can influence what people are thinking. It's kind of part of why they're there, maybe. But, for them to say, wow, that's a horrible play call, that's this here, and then people pick up on that and start running with it, that's I don't know. I want to be wary of that a little bit,
Yeah, well, because they don't know what the offense is trying to set up, like maybe later in the game. They also don't know what their game plan is. They don't know what they saw. And even at the end of all of that, it might have been, you're right, it might have been a dumb play because either the quarterback missed a check or he audibled or, there is a plethora of reasons why you can think that that's a dumb play call. I've said this before, like no one's going to agree with every play call a head coach makes. Whatever fan of a team you are, and you can make it any sport, line changes in hockey, pinch hitters went to the bullpen too early, too soon in baseball, soccer, he shouldn't be starting over this guy. So it can be any sport. I mean, it's kind of part of the fun. But to go from seeing like those plays where they set it up where they got Cameron Brate open in the Giants game. They set it up where they got Deshaun Jackson open in that game, in the Patriots game. Jameis just missed him. The Patriots were weak over the middle, and anytime they sort of needed a first down, they went to Cam Brate like 3 times, but he kept dropping the ball. That that crossing route by Charles Sims, which was thrown a little bit behind him, but it was catchable. I think if he caught it, he would have got a first down. If the ball was in front of him, he still could be running. I mean, the plays were there. It's
doesn't make it the wrong play call from the coach, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if it works, it seems like it's the quarterback. The quarterback made a great play. If it doesn't work, it's a dumb play call. And like I said, you're not going to agree with 100%. But if you're going to have these conversations, or you're going to go out on social media, or have these conversations with me, like bring up examples, and if it's just like 3 plays in a whole game, well, I don't really know if we should even be having the conversation, honestly. The reason the offense is stalling is not because of the play calling; it's because of the execution.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I've thought a lot about this weekend. All right, and the thing that I'm hearing is people are saying what I keep hearing on social media. I've heard this on other Buccaneers podcasts. I've heard this on national media when people are talking about it. They're saying, Jameis is in his 3rd year. Enough's enough. He should be getting everything. Everything should be dialed in. Almost as if, here we are in Jameis' 3rd year. We're in game 36 of his career. Not 48. This isn't the end of his 3rd year. This is the beginning of his 3rd year. This is game 36. That all of a sudden he should have everything figured out, and his accuracy should be near 100%, and he should be hitting everybody every time, able to read defenses and pick them apart like Aaron Rodgers did tonight, or even like Tom Brady did. I mean, I don't know what it looked like on TV, but there was something watching the game live and in person of seeing the way Tom Brady did stuff and how easy and fluid things were for him, even though things didn't always go his way. He was just so calm and cool and collected, barely broke a sweat, versus Jameis, who still looks like he's still running around trying to figure it out. But you look at the difference of these two guys and where they are in their career, and I don't know, Ren, am I wrong to sit back and go, I'm okay with it? He's in the beginning of his 3rd year. It's okay. I'm invested in Jameis for a long time. I'm not just going to cut and run.
Right.
Is that wrong of me? At the beginning of his 3rd year, should we be expecting this near perfection of execution from Jameis?
Well, I think it's just the fans sort of, wanting it. I mean, if you look at the yards and you look at the offense, they're putting up the yards. I think they're top 5 in the league in yards, gained on offense.
But Ren, does that even count? When you look at, just take this past game, for example, when they had 300 and some odd yards, but 200 of them came in the final quarter.
Right.
So does that argument really? And I'm not actually making the argument. I'm just pulling from what I'm seeing out there, because, personally, I don't know. I'm a little on the side of I'm okay with it. I'm not okay losing games, but it's okay. I just want to bring.
Let me answer you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me answer the question. You're right. I'm okay with it too. But fans see somebody like Dak Prescott, who's had all this early success, or you got Deshaun Watson here who's playing right now in Houston, who's had some big games early. The offenses these guys are running are totally different. Plus the personnel that was around these guys when they first got there was top notch. Also, like I was alluding to before, what was I talking about before? I'm sorry, I sort of lost my train of thought. I'm okay with it too. It's a totally different plan, offense. What Jameis is asked to do are these big boy throws. Watch these throws that Jameis made, especially on that last drive. Remember when he fumbled the snap and then he tried to get rid of it and they called him down as a sack? And the next play he rolls out and hits, Deshaun Jackson a laser beam for a first down. Buccaneers football, that drive's over. Like, after you drop that and then you try to get it out, but they call you for a sack because your knee was down, drives over. But Jameis doesn't. He gets the ball, he rolls out, he throws a laser to Sean Jackson between the cornerback and the safety. He toe touches, it's first down, and we just continue rolling. That is a great, great throw. It is. I mean, that's an Aaron Rodgers throw. If Aaron Rodgers made that throw, it'd be all, oh my God, look at Aaron Rodgers. He's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. But you see it because it's frustrating because he's not there where Tom Brady is. 95% of the time, Tom Brady knows where he's going to go with the ball when it's hiked to him, if he's throwing, and you can see that, it was the same thing with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning would make a flinch with his hands, and he'd see a linebacker take a step, so he'd turn to his running back and tell his running back to come up. Okay, you come next to me here because that's going to make the linebacker take one step over, and I'm trying to throw in that pocket where he's standing. Jameis is not there yet. No one in their third year is there yet. Right. So I get the frustration because he is such a charismatic figure. He is such a good leader. The intangibles are there, and we were sold this super explosive offense, and this is it, and we're going to roll. We're going to make the playoffs, and all this stuff, and it's just not happening. But it is. It's just that one or two things that are just missing. So I would urge fans just to calm down a little bit. I hear what you're saying. I think Dirk Cutter's a very good play caller. I think Jameis Winston is a very good quarterback, and I think it's just going to be just fine.
Yeah, I would agree. And I want to take this opportunity to welcome all the new listeners that we have at the Mixlr chat room at mixlr.com/thepewtercast. You guys, the phone lines are open. You are welcome to call in if you'd like. Otherwise, we got actually quite a little bit of a discussion going on in the chat room as well. The phone number to call in, 864-729-2827. So we're talking about Jameis Winston, talking about his accuracy, his execution. Ren, I think I heard this on the Ira Kaufman podcast earlier this week.
That's that.
Who I think what they were saying, and it might have been Ira himself, had said that until Jameis gets going, one of the complaints that we had about Jameis this week that really piped up, and I think there's some teeth to this one, and that's okay, is that he's a guy who seems to really not get going until later in the game. He has those slow starts. In this particular game, he really didn't get going until the fourth quarter. And he said as long as Jameis is that kind of a quarterback and he can't get going sooner, he can't get things going throughout the entire course of the game, this is always going to be a middle-of-the-road team. Now, we're not a bottom of the pack like we were, but this is going to be an 8-8, 9-7, maybe a 10-6. We may hit the playoffs, but we'll probably get knocked out fairly early. Until Jameis can make that step, that we're going to be stuck there. Now, I'm not saying that means that we're doomed for the entirety of Jameis being here, and I don't think Ira was saying that. And I don't think that he's saying that Jameis isn't going to get better. I think he's just saying until that happens, we are probably going to be in this middle of the road. Would you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree with it. I think Jameis is already there. Do we have a slow start against Chicago? No, we would have been up like 20 to whatever, but we had a missed field goal and a missed extra point, I believe. The Minnesota game, obviously, that was a slow start for everybody.
Right.
But he had some really good throws in that. And then when we have the Giants game, we were up big on the Giants. Did he have a slow start that game? We were leading the Patriots 7-3. Was that a slow start? I hear what you're saying, but I think they're just sort of falling back on a narrative that's convenient at the time. And because I don't think they had a slow start against the Patriots. I think they had a good start against the Patriots. I think it was a very brief good start against the Patriots. and then things started to bog down. And I think that's where more kind of like the frustration comes from because the Bucs can't seem to put together 2 or 4 quarters of good football. The Bears game, it was sort of just the first half. The Giants game, it was sort of just the first half and the last drive. The Minnesota game, nothing. The Patriots, you could say, their first touchdown and then just the fourth quarter. There seems to be somewhere, where there's, quarter and a half, 2 quarters of football where the offense just sort of disappears. But to be honest, if you really look at it, break it down, I would blame the defense just as much because they have had a terrible time getting off the field, like 3 and outs, were non-existent against the Patriots. I thought the game was over when they got the onside kick and Brady got the ball with over 2 minutes left. I'm like, okay, we got one timeout. All they need is one first down. The game's over. That's going to happen 95 times out of 100. You give Tom Brady the ball and go, you need a first down to win the game. It's going to happen. This defense stood up. I mean, but besides that, he went up and down the field. Yeah, he did it at 5, 8, 10, 14 yards, a play, but they did. They just went up and he went up and down the field. He threw for 300 yards.
Right. It's an interesting thing about the defense, and I want to come back to them a little bit later, but while you're saying that, on the one hand, you could say that because I'm seeing the same thing that you're talking about. It seemed to me like Tom Brady couldn't miss a pass, that they couldn't catch a pass breakup, that all they were doing was waiting for him to complete a pass, and then they were going to run after and tackle the guy, and hopefully he didn't get more than 4 or 5 yards after the catch. Like
he went 10 for 10 in the second quarter. Didn't miss a pass.
Exactly. And you sit there and go, well, wow, man, what's going on with our defense? On the other hand,
you look at the scoreboard, they're not scoring.
Exactly. We held Tom Brady, the Super Bowl champions, to 19 points over the course of the entire game.
And you should win that game, and that's why people are
exactly. And we had 3 sacks, we had an interception, we had a forced fumble, we were by the end of the fourth quarter, we were pretty close even on time of possession. Although most of that got made up in the fourth quarter, to be honest, or to be fair. So the defense kind of did this, man, like, what really matters at the end is that the points were not on the board. So yay for that. But man, they really seem to struggle against Tom Brady and the rest of his team.
There seems to be this point in the ball game where the Bucs go like 3 and out like 2 or 3 times in a row, and then I'm talking like all weeks, sort of excluding Minnesota because that was just
abysmal. A weird week of football around the entire NFL. That's
that's right. We keep saying that. We're just going to throw that one out. But there seems to be this point where the Buccaneers, like there's 2 times in a row or 3 times out of 4, they sort of do this 3 and out. And that's when people start questioning the play calling because they're not getting first downs. But then the defense, like I said, isn't doing him any favors. So, we have this great start, and then the team starts to crawl back in it while we're doing 3 and outs, and they're, doing these 7-minute drives, 6-minute drives, 8-minute drives. They might be scoring touchdowns. They might be scoring field goals. They might, eventually be punting. But when you feel like you're always on defense and then the team gets on the field, you're like, okay, here we go, and it's 3 and out, and you start to get frustrated. So I think that's sort of the mix, at least that's the way I'm seeing it. That's sort of the mix why the frustration's there about the play calling. And, really hats off to the defense of the Patriots game. But, but back to what I was saying, sort of where the offense disappeared halfway through the first quarter, didn't appear to the beginning of the fourth. That was why. That was one of the reasons why the team was doing a couple 3 and outs, and Tom Brady was, eating up 5-6 minutes and kicking field goals.
Yeah, and and I think Dan over in the chat room had a pretty good point here. He's like, and this is going to happen with Jameis as he continues through his career. He says when better decision making becomes something that requires less thought, we're going to see the ball come out faster and be more accurate. And I think he's absolutely right.
Yeah, you're right. When the game slows down for him even more, it's like when he becomes Tom Brady, he becomes Aaron Rodgers. But when the decisions get there, I watch a little bit of the Lions game today. Thank you for losing to the Panthers, by the way, Detroit Lions. But Matt Stafford was like that. Like he knew where he was going with the ball, So when the game starts to slow down, you're going to see it. I can understand being a little frustrated, especially if you see other young quarterbacks, having a little more success than Jameis has. But he's playing in a much harder offense. And until this year, he was playing in with like a lot less caliber of players around him, offensively and defensively.
And to contrast that, this year he has a plethora of high caliber players, and some that are getting very frustrated that they're not getting more touches of the football.
I don't know if he's frustrated about touches. He's frustrated that Jameis is missing him when he throws it to him. That's how I view it. I don't think he really has a problem with the amount of times he's being thrown to. I think he's frustrated when he's open because we're starting to get into the other hand. Count how many times Jameis has missed Deshaun Jackson wide open. 1, 2. We're starting to hit like 6, 7. Like we're starting to go into the other hand here. So yeah.
Okay, now let me ask a question about that though. How many times? All right, let's call the number 6 just for example. Of the 6, how many times is because Deshaun Jackson didn't make the catch, and how many times is that because Jameis missed him? I'm
counting all of those as Jameis misses.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not like the second or the last interception in Minnesota. I'm not counting that against anyone. I haven't seen Deshaun Jackson drop a ball. Do you remember Deshaun Jackson dropping a ball?
I'm thinking, and I think I've not. It doesn't come to mind. Let's put it that way.
Well, you remember he missed him the Chicago game twice. He just missed him here in the Patriots game. He missed him short in the Vikings game.
He also connected with him in a pretty big way this past game.
What's that?
This game against the Patriots, we finally got to see a big connect between Jameis and Deshaun, and then see Deshaun turn on those afterburners and have the big play. Like that's the reason we paid him $10 million or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 11, but whatever.
Yeah.
we're kind of making up numbers right now anyway.
Right.
So yeah, and then he's hit Deshaun on some deep outs on the sidelines, but as far as like the flyer outs or I don't even – there has been – I don't know if those were preseason, but I can't really remember a lot of Deshaun Jackson, doing that slant across the field where he can catch it in stride and and just basically run through with his speed, just run right through the zone if they're in zone coverage. I don't really remember a lot of throws like that. So, you like to say they're still learning, as a fan. As if you're down on it, I think it's very fair after 4 games to go, okay, you've had enough time to learn. You've had OTAs, you've had training camp, you've had 4/3/2 preseason games, and now 4 games and all the practices in between. Like you should be able to have some of this down now, and some of it could be play calling, some of it could be Jameis is making the wrong reads, or maybe I don't want to say wrong reads, maybe he's making another read. Because when you watch the All-22, like they're having 2 guys open is not a rarity, So and it's also a little bit of the style that Jameis plays. Like Dak Prescott will look at his first read, and if it's not there, he's looking for his check down. But he gets Ezekiel Elliott to hand the ball off to. But Jameis, he's going to try to squeeze his first read. He always thinks he can make the pass, and a lot of times he can. But instead of like, okay, that cornerback's in good position, I'm going to have to put it in the right spot. He will try to put it in the right spot instead of coming off that and going to like his next read or going to a check down. I mean, there's a play that Real Bucs Talk put out there when he did short hop at Deshaun Jackson, and the closest person was the defender on sort of a deep out, but he was on the far hash. But O.J. Howard and Doug Martin are just standing there, like no one within like 5 to 7 yards of him. But he thought he could make the throw, and most of the time he does. So is that bad play calling, or is that bad decision making, or is it that good play calling, good decision making? It just didn't work out.
So is that an example? I've heard a couple other people talking about this. And I'm not really sure that it's true. Is that an example of perhaps so Deshaun, especially after last week, we heard a lot about his frustration with not being able to connect with Jameis. Do you think is Jameis trying to force the ball to Deshaun so that he can kind of make him happy, so to speak? Is that an example of that? Do you think Jameis is trying to do that at all, especially after last week? Or do you think that's just a lot of flubbub?
I think it's flubbub. I follow the logic, and I can't dispute it. Especially after Mike Evans, kicks a garbage can, and then Jameis throws in triple coverage, and then the next week we're playing the Giants, and he misses him a couple times and misses him a 2-point conversion, and Deshaun rips his helmet off and is venting on his way back to the bench, and then next week it seems that Jameis is sort of force feeding him the ball. So I would like to say that. I mean, I can't dispute that logic, but I think Dirk Cutter knows where Jameis is supposed to go with the ball. And if Jameis continually starts going to Deshaun when he's not supposed to, just to get him the ball, Dirk Cutter's going to call him out on it. So I don't think it might happen, but I think it's been sort of ixnayed extremely quickly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you saw what happened. We all watch Hard Knocks when he threw that play that from falling on his backside
at the Jacksonville game.
Yeah, the Jacksonville game. And
Yeah.
you heard what he said. I mean, if he keeps continually force-feeding somebody because they yelled at him or he feels like Cutter's going to put an end to it. Because actually, at the end of the day, these guys are linked at the hip,
Mm-hmm.
If Jameis doesn't do well, Cutter's going to lose his job. So he's not going to put up with Jameis playing favorites.
Right.
So, I like I said, I follow the logic. I get it. I can't really dispute it, except where I just said I just don't think – it's just one of those things where you're not where like if you ask a player, it's like no, that just doesn't happen, And it may be actually right. Like if you're in the locker room, you'd understand it just doesn't happen. But from the outside looking in, you can definitely connect the dots.
It kind of looks like it's happening.
Yes, exactly.
So here's a thought that I've been having, particularly about Jameis and Deshaun Jackson specifically. But I'm going to go back to talk about Mike Evans for just a moment. I remember between Jameis's first season and second season, we heard several stories about him and Mike Evans connecting during the offseason and going out and just tossing passes. Right? Like all throughout the offseason. And we know that we hear about him doing that with Cam Brate, and we know that he and Brate stay after practice and work on stuff and things like that. I've not heard anything to that effect with Deshaun Jackson. And, I would, as a fan, knowing that this is a storyline, knowing that this is something that is happening, and there really does seem to be an issue there. I mean, you can't deny it. We're seeing it in games. That's kind of what I want to see Deshaun and Jameis do. I want to see him just after work one night, go to a local high school, have him turn on the lights out on the field, just the two of them, and just, once a week or something, go throw 100 passes and just have at it. Just between the two of them, work on this and figure this out. I don't know if Deshaun's going to do that. I don't know they have the time. I don't know what that looks like being mid-season. But that's the thing. I was honestly a little surprised that we didn't hear about them doing that a whole lot in the preseason, because I would think that going, hey, we've got this new speed demon who's come in. We've never had this kind of speed before. He's a new guy. Chemistry is a big thing. What have we done with Mike that's been working really well? What have we done with Cam Brate that's been working really well? Let's get Jameis and Deshaun out there and have that happen.
Right. I've said this a few times, that it takes Jameis some time to connect with his receivers. I mean, we talked about Mike Evans, putting in all that extra work over last offseason. We talked about Cameron Brate, who puts in all the extra work after practice. Who does he have the best chemistry with on the team? Cam Brate and Mike Evans. Well, and who's third? Adam Humphries. Well, because he's the next person down the line that's been there the longest. Let's call a spade a spade. Jameis has problems timing up with receivers, like new receivers. It takes a while for him to get it down. But it seems to be, on the upside or the bright side, it seems to be once he's got it, he's got it. Now, to answer your question directly, and, I don't know Deshaun Jackson, from, my neighbor that's, 4 blocks down. Like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who Deshaun Jackson is. But if you're asking my personal opinion, I just don't think that's Deshaun Jackson's style. I really don't.
I would agree with you. That he does not strike me as the kind of guy who's going to go do that.
Right.
And
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. As a fan, you would like to see him do it. Well, but you can't guarantee that him and Jameis go out and do this, that it's actually going to improve. You can't. But if that's something that could help, I don't know. And this may just be my own more personality style. If you're going to complain about there's this frustration of not being able to connect with you, but you're not going to put in the extra work to go make that happen when there's obviously something there, then yeah, I personally have a problem with that. Go make it happen. Go do what you got to do. This is Deshaun. I mean, let's face it. Deshaun's in the last couple of years of his career. He's on the downslope. He's only got a handful of seasons left before he can get a ring. I don't think he has one yet, does he? No, not
he doesn't
that
have
I know.
a ring,
Not
right?
that I can remember.
So,
yeah, no.
If he wants a ring before he's out, if I'm Deshaun Jackson, and I'm not Deshaun Jackson, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that that I'm going to connect with my quarterback, that my quarterback can connect with me. Now, that's just me. That's just my style. That's just my personality.
Yeah, and I hear you. And like I said, as fans, you would love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to be upset with the guy because he doesn't. He shows up when he's supposed to. It's a job. He shows up when he's supposed to. He does the work when he's there. He does lots of training the off season. We saw all the videos about him, with his track coach out in California.
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing training out the off season, just wasn't with Jameis. But during the season, I don't know, you only get so much time with your family, and I'm just not going just because I don't like it, and I think I would do it. It's something that you're asking somebody extra to do for no pay. And to me, that's extremely un-American. It's just like, well, you should do this. Okay, pay me. Oh, no. Okay, so you want me to give up my time and my energy and my effort to make you feel better, but I'm going to render you a service, but you're not going to pay me for it. So I get it, and I want to be like you, Brent. Like, really, I do. If I was younger, in my 20s, I would be yelling and screaming, yeah, he needs to get out there and do what he can, blah, blah, blah. But as I get older, and if you get in this is going to be a little bit of a rant, but you get in the corporate, you get into corporations and stuff, and they sort of bleed you dry. Like, they expect all these things from you for not extra pay. Like, you sign up for A, B, and C, and then 3 months later, you're doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And, there's no extra compensation for it, and it's still expected. And then if you quit G, it's like, well, what's the matter with you? And you get veiled threats about your schedule and stuff. Now, okay, I'm ranting. But anyway, that obviously that's not true for all corporations. But, so I'm never going to tell somebody that they should do extra work that they don't have to. I'm not going to do it. Now, just like you said, if you want to get better, do you think it's a good idea? Yeah. I can also see, well, if you're going to yell and complain, and I don't think Deshaun Jackson's yelling at Jameis. I think it's just, it's just venting. It's
frustration with the situation.
How when we do the InstantCast
after
a loss, it's like, rah, 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 it makes you feel better, and that way you can move on. So that's where I stand.
Fair enough. All right, moving on from Deshaun Jackson, I want to talk about O.J. Howard. And specifically, I want to talk about the final play of the game. This was something that I couldn't see. I couldn't tell in the moment being there in the stadium. It just looked like a really bad throw. Somebody dropped it. I really wasn't sure. And I'll tell you, being the final play, they sure as heck didn't show a replay of it up on those big, beautiful screens that we have in Raymond James Stadium. But coming home and getting to watch it back, O.J. Howard runs out, he cuts left, Jameis throws the ball, and the ball is wide right. I mean, this looked like Nick Folk kicked the ball. It went that far wide right. And then you see Jameis kind of yelling at O.J. Howard, saying, you got to see it with your eyes, pointing to his eyes or something. And the more you look at it, and as I understand it, I think maybe somebody said it on the broadcast. I don't know. I didn't listen to the broadcast. That it almost looked like Jameis was expecting O.J. Howard to break right instead of break left. And had he broken right, and I went back and looked at it, had he broken right, it really looks like it would have been right in the money of where O.J. would have been. Like Jameis threw it where O.J. should have been. And I think that's now the second week in a row where Jameis threw a ball that dropped incomplete, threw it just out in the middle of nowhere, but had the person been where they were supposed to be for whatever reason they weren't, but had they made it there, it would have been a beautiful completion. Did you see that as well on that?
I did see that, and they sort of alluded to that it was more Jameis's fault, during the broadcast, to be honest with you. But when I saw it, I thought it was the right play. One, they're playing in the end zone, so you sort of want to get it like somewhere between the 5, and you want the completion going forward somewhere between the 5 and the goal line. Mm-hmm. Because once you get in the end zone, you got to get it by them. So get it in front of them. O.J. Howard was your closest receiver. He's the biggest receiver you got out there. Sort of, if you add in height and weight, the height-weight ratio. So if he gets it, all he has to do is fall forward. It's a touchdown. Now, in the Friday press conference, Dirk Cutter praised that throw by Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And he explained, he's like, there's 4 wide, and basically we were looking for, whoever was not double covered. So what I just said about, O.J. Howard being the closest and the biggest, it just happened to work out that way. So Jameis found the guy that wasn't double covered. He read the key on the linebacker and threw the ball where it was supposed to be, and O.J. Howard missed the read. Mm-hmm. And that was that. I mean, that was it. I thought it was once again, if O.J. Howard didn't miss the read and he catches the ball and he falls in the end zone, how bad is Dirk Cutter's play calling then? It's like, it's just.
And do we yell at O.J. Howard being a rookie for missing that read in his 4th game?
It depends on how often they practice it,
Right.
If the coach, I'm sure you have to have a little bit of leeway, obviously, but, that you could argue, not one play loses you the game, but, the last play can lose you the game, and that last play did lose them the game, hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he was talked to, are they cleaning out his locker? No. But, so, yeah, that was another thing. And when you're talking about Jameis and bad decisions, not you personally, but social media, how James has to make these better decisions. It's like, okay, did you just see that last play? Did you just see like 3 plays earlier where, it was, what was it, like 3rd and 21 and just hit Deshaun Jackson for 27 yards on a frozen rope? Like, did you just see that? So I just feel there's a lot of selective memory going on with the Jameis / Dirk Cutter complaints.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, a big thing about that, and I get it as Bucs fans. We are so ready for a team to go out and dominate every single game, every single quarter, every single drive. And with the hype that surrounded this team, and maybe some of it was our own fault as a fan base for pumping up so much hype for this team in this offseason, though there was a lot to get hyped for. Is this some of just 10 years of frustration boiling over yet again for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because we're used to having really short memories. We're used to calling for people's heads. We're used to calling for people, oh, he's got to give up play calling. Oh, let's put signs in his front yard. Let's get rid of this guy. Get him out of here. Anybody's better than this person. Let's move on. And, to be honest, that's the kind of thinking and that's the kind of veracity that I think has kept the Buccaneers down.
Whoa.
Yeah, let's bring out the big words.
Google.
Webster Dictionary. That's the kind of stuff that keeps Tampa Bay in, out of the playoffs for the last 12 years or however long it's been at this point.
Yeah, and even as we're sort of having this resurgence, of Buccaneer fandom and the team as far as like caliber of players and an organization and having the right people, from top to bottom, even as we're still doing this, we're still sort of like the laughing stock of the league because of the kicker situation the past year and 4 games.
Right.
So you still have this like, okay, well, yeah, okay, we got the quarterback, we got the coach, we got the GM, we got the defense, we got the defensive coordinator, we got, the wide receiver. Like, we got it all. Like, now we have it. Oh, but now, the kicker's losing this game. So it is frustrating. Everybody knows. And it's frustrating to be a lot of fans, Yeah. The last game I went to was with you, obviously. It was a Giants game. And they acted just like Buck fans. Like, when they were losing early, their team was the worst in the whole entire world. When they came back and took the lead, they wouldn't shut the hell up about how great they were. And then, and then Jameis came down and kicked Jameis came down, got him in field goal range. Folk made the field goal, and they all shut the hell up again. It's just like any other team, man. Like, it really is. Like, all teams are going through it at different levels. Of course, it's sort of hard to argue to be, a Patriots fan or a Green Bay fan or, I guess right now possibly a Seattle fan. Teams that make it year after year to the playoffs, that's a lot nicer. But, that's the way fans react. I'm sure people were cursing at the TV, calling Aaron Rodgers, like, what are you doing? Where are you throwing that ball a few times today? Mm-hmm. That's just the way we are. So,
welcome to fandom of any team in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. Or any team in soccer or baseball or whatever.
Well, you brought up the kicking situation, and I definitely want to get there, Ren, and we're definitely going to spend several minutes talking about that whole situation, I'm sure, and we're actually coming up probably on the last 15, 20 minutes of the show right now. But before we get there, one other person I want to talk about on the offense is our other tight end, Cameron Brate. Somebody I saw a tweet, it was somebody significant, said, we are not making America great again. During the game, which made me chuckle. But, here's Cam Brate. Catches one in the end zone, drops one in the end zone. Cam seemed to have a real kind of 50-50
Drops
night.
one in the end zone first.
Right.
So let's do this chronologically.
Yeah, okay, fine.
And we missed a field goal, so no points.
Right. Stupid Brate. Egghead from whatever he...
Started with him. Hit him right in the chest.
Yeah. Oh, he had it. He had it in his hands. He just...
Wasn't the first one either.
Yeah. So
talk about those 3 and outs. He dropped 2 of them. Would have been first down. Let's keep going. You see a lot of this stuff on Twitter about in a rhythm. Keep it in a rhythm. Like it's the dirt cutter can't get Jameis in a rhythm. Well, catch the effing ball.
Right.
Move the chains.
Right.
So Cameron Brate, he had a terrible game. He did. And talk about Jameis and his decision making. That throw that he put in right over the cornerback's head and in front of the safety. Like there was a window about as big as, my car window from 30 yards out, and he threw it right through it. So, sorry, I'm starting to get a little upset. So anyway, Brate had a terrible game. He just did. It was a good, you could see it in his face, at least when you're watching on TV, is when he caught that touchdown pass and he got up, people were congratulating. He was just sort of like rolling his eyes and like, geez, finally. Like he knew, and even in his press conference after the game, he mentioned, he's like, I left a lot of plays out on the field. Like he knew he had a bad game. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm chalking it up to. It was just one of those games. Everybody has them every once in a while.
They do. But here's the thing. He had a bad game. Okay, fair enough. I've not heard a single person calling for his job or saying that he has to play better or Cameron Brate has to catch those balls. Cameron Brate has to. I've not heard a single person talk
because he's
him.
built up the cachet. He's come through in the clutch enough times where when he doesn't, you forgive it because he has this history of. It's the same reason Bill Belichick's not getting blasted for trading a first-round pick for that Con Ely guy, and then they cut him before the start of the regular season. Mm-hmm. It's just that those things when you got 5 rings and have this cachet, then you get away with that stuff.
Kind of shut up for a minute. I did say I had one more person I wanted to talk about, but I lied. I had 2. Okay. We can't get out of talking about this. Doug Martin, welcome back.
Oh yeah, welcome back. Yeah, looked phenomenal. He did exactly what I thought he was going to be. He was just going to be ultra fresh. That rest first rust I thought was a ridiculous argument. Mm-hmm.
Call from.
And it appeared to be that way.
Hold on just one second, Ren.
Press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
I think we got a phone call here, Ren. We'll see if we can get him on the line. You're on with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Do we got you here?
Hey guys, it's Chef Aaron.
Chef! What's up, buddy?
Not too much. Sorry, I just woke up from a nap.
Oh, it's all good, my friend. All good, my friend. We were actually just talking a little bit about Doug Martin, but we've had quite the conversation, man. We're talking about the Bucs versus Patriots and kind of everything that's happened in the last couple of days. What you got on your mind, my friend?
Oh, probably the same thing that a lot of people have been saying as well. Like with, I love Dirk and all. I think he's gonna be a great head coach for us. I just think that he overthinks what the play calls on and stuff. I think he tries to get too cute and all that stuff with his play calling, and it kind of is backfiring on him. And obviously, Jameis has to get his inaccuracies under control, whatever. I think from what I actually heard, somebody was on Twitter saying that in college, he was nowhere near this inaccurate until I'm guessing Bajakian or whatever showed him a different way of throwing or his mechanics and all that stuff, and that's kind of effed up how he throws the ball now, so I don't know if that's something that can be fixed, and maybe they should go back to the way he threw it back in when he was quarterback at Florida State. So who knows on that, obviously. And I mean, but we saw that one play on Thursday night with like towards the end of the game with that slant play to Deshaun Jackson. That is what they need to start deploying, is like the short, simple passes to get him in space and then turn the jets on instead of always relying on the deep ball. That's, I think, the biggest problem of like stalling the offense is they're always looking for the deep ball early. It's like work your way up to the deep ball. Don't go for the kill right away. Work your way up to the kill, because that will just, not only will that take a lot of time off the clock, it'll also like get Doug Martin into the mix. Because obviously, I mean, Doug Martin was averaging close to 5-7 yards per carry in that game. It's like he looks like his 2015 self.
Yeah, no, check it out. By the end of the game, he came out with like 5.7 yards per carry. But earlier on, like up to the fourth quarter, he was averaging something like 9 yards a carry. It was crazy. Like, talk about welcome back Doug Martin. Holy cow.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, if we can get his production like that.
Involved in the fourth quarter. It was 3rd and 2, and they gave him the ball, and the offensive line, decided not to block that play. And he had to squirm through the entire Patriots defensive line to get back to the line of scrimmage, and it's 4th down. Patriots go down and kick a field goal. Now you're down 2 scores, and it's the 4th. Like you can't give the ball to Doug anymore after that. I know you just woke up for a nap, so this might be a little too much. But here's what I'm saying. I understand everything you're saying, Chef. I'm following your logic. Okay. Why don't you want to throw the deep ball early?
I just think that it basically is putting too much pressure on Jameis to begin with. I mean, he's already like hyped up and all that stuff, and I think he gets too overhyped that he just like he's almost like off his sync in a way, if that makes sense. Like he needs to like work into a rhythm in order to get the long ball into a better sort of rhythm. It just seems like every time he throws a long ball, he's just like, I don't know, just forcing it. It's not like he's in a rhythm where he can just like make it feel natural. It seems like he's just forcing it, if that makes sense.
So when does it matter when you throw it or not? I mean, when does it matter, like, the difference between throwing it early or late in the game, early in the game or late in the game, if every time he throws it, he just looks, like his hitch in his giddy up?
Well, like I said, maybe it's all like the plays and all that stuff, or maybe it's just he's just a hot and cold type of quarterback. I don't know. It just every time I watch him on the field, it just feels like, or I should say, it looks like he's forcing it and just not letting it come to him in that kind of way.
Okay. I mean, I love your football IQ. I love the emails you send us, like, with rounding out the whole entire game. But I right now, I think if he would hit these plays early, you wouldn't have a problem with it. Because he's not. Then you're. This is just how I feel. I feel like you're trying to find a reason that he's not making the play. And it could just be he's not making the play. I mean, there's lots of like, I think, I see, maybe, I feel. Like, those aren't – you can't, call a football game or coach somebody on those type of hyperboles. Like I said, I'm following your logic, but there's nothing that you've told me that makes me go, yes, you're right, that's why you shouldn't throw the ball early. I don't know, and that's just my opinion. Like I said, I know you just kind of woke up for the nap, and this was kind of going to be a, maybe your synapses aren't quite firing fast enough right now.
Ren's been on fire, right?
I mean, I respect your opinion. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I love your analysis too on everything when it comes to Bucs related. Like, I follow it, and it's like there's never a time where what you report and all that stuff, and everything you dissect. I mean, I follow everything, and I agree with pretty much 95% of it. And sometimes I'll have like a little nitpick on like, is this really like the causality of everything and all that? And
Right.
it's like you said, it's everybody has an opinion, and it's all about talking through each other's opinions and coming to a common ground.
Chef, I got a question for you. Chef, I got a question for you. One of the reasons I love talking to you is because you are a true voice of the fans in a lot of ways. You tend to encapsulate a lot of what I see out there. For the sake of argument, let's just say I'm just going to go ahead and say you're right about everything, just for the sake of this question. Cutter gets a little too cute in his play calling. Jameis, he needs to work on his accuracy, and he needs to hit these long balls. He needs to do all this kind of stuff. Like, okay, let's just say that all that's true. What do we need to actually do about it, though? Like, are the Bucs, like, are we threatening people's jobs, particularly Jameis and Dirk Cutter? Are we? Is it?
I would
let's
go that
say
far.
yes, that's true, and that's just part of the growing pains of, we have a head coach who's in his second year. We have a super young quarterback who should actually be in his rookie season, but he's only still in his third year. Like, are these just part of the growing pains? And yes, we should look for this, but it's okay. Or I think I just heard you say you wouldn't go so far as to say anybody's at risk of losing their job, except for maybe Nick Folk. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
oh yes,
what do you say to that? Like, what's the next logical step here?
Well, to answer all that, I wouldn't say anybody, especially Dirk or Jason Light for that matter, or I definitely would not label Jameis a bust. That is absolutely stupidity beyond anything. Jameis ever since we got Jameis, this team has progressed year after year after year, and Jameis has progressed year after year after year, and he's still progressing. Mm-hmm. Brian Billick on Mike and Mike earlier this week has said he is progressing. It's just he's going to take some more time. Quarterbacks progress in their own time. Like not every quarterback's going to progress at this year or that year or this year. It's all about seeing the progression and working towards that progression. Now, as far as this team goes, I do think that the culture is changing where we're getting that winning type of mentality in place. I would just say that it just seems like, especially on that Thursday night game, we keep shooting ourselves in the foot. I don't know how many drop passes were committed. Like Braid had a drop pass right in the end zone that we could have had 6 points instead of having a 31-yard missed field goal by Folk. And obviously, we all know that Jameis overthrew D-Tax on that one play where he beat Malcolm or Butler by 3 or 4 yards, and that would have been like a 60-yard touchdown pass right then and there. So I just still see us shooting ourselves in the foot, and that's stalling us, so to speak. Kind of like what it answers to the whole Jameis slow starts and all that stuff. We keep shooting ourselves in the foot, and once that stops, then we can see consistency going on the offense.
You know what's really great about that,
basically answers that.
Chef, you know what's really great about that, though, to compare this team, because I'm not going to argue with you. We definitely shoot ourselves in the foot and have been known to do that. The difference is this team, and we saw it even in the Patriots game, we still fought back, and we were still in it to the end.
Absolutely.
Now the Minnesota game, that's just this weird anomaly. We're not even going to consider that this year. But think of the Buccaneer teams of the past. Our season would be over at this point, and we'd be looking at the draft next year already.
Buccaneer teams in the past would give up.
Yeah, but this team didn't give up. We were in it literally until the last second of the game. Same thing true of last week. Now the difference is that I know you just said you woke up from a nap. I don't know if you saw the Green Bay Dallas game. If you haven't, go back and watch it.
I did. I fell asleep right after
game.
That, yeah.
Fantastic game.
That was probably, yeah.
Yeah, and here's the deal: the Green, Dallas goes in, they score a touchdown right in the end. They give Aaron Rodgers the ball back with 1:31 left on the clock. They're down by 4. Did anyone have any doubt in their mind that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to take his team, march down the field, and score a touchdown in 1:31 seconds?
No.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
No. Okay. Jameis gets the ball back with 1:12 seconds left on the clock or whatever it was against the Patriots. Did we have any doubt that he was going to march down the field, at least march down the field and put us into scoring position? No. We might have had a little bit of a doubt whether he was going to put it in the end zone. But, like, we're getting there. We're taking those steps. And that's what I love. And that's the thing that, we got to keep going. And to what you were talking about, if the team is making progress, think of it this way. At the quarter point in the season, and Jameis's first 2 years, we were 1-3 on the season. This year, we're 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2 now.
That's an improvement. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
There were some frustrations, sure, with this game. But, my gosh, we're going to. We're going to take it, for what we've got.
And Brent, one little thing here. When we were talking on Twitter the other day, we were talking about that very final play, like on the whole miscommunication between Jameis and OJ.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Jameis may have forced that throw, but I did see your side where, if OJ had cut to the right like he was supposed to, that would have been a touchdown.
Yep. I will agree with you that yes, I was right about that.
Yeah, well, Dirk Cutter said so. He said so on Friday during the press conference. He said Jameis made the throw and OJ made the wrong read. That's what he said. So
cool.
That's what happened. Miscommunication. Good throw, bad route.
Yeah. All right, Chef. Well, hey, Chef, I want to thank you so much for your call, man. I'm going to go ahead and clear this line out for us for tonight, okay?
All right, I just want to say one quick thing. I cannot wait to hear what Ren has to say about the whole VH3 criticism.
That will be coming Wednesday.
Yeah. We're going to have to wait for that one for the main show, but it will be here, I promise you. But stay tuned with us, Aaron. You have a great night, all right, man?
All right, go Bucs.
Go Bucs, Chef.
Thanks, Chef.
I always love getting to hear from Chef.
Right?
All right. Okay. Well, we are up on the top end of our show here. Yeah. But hey, listen, for anyone who's in the chat room right now, the phone line is open. You want to call in? We'll talk to you. 864-729-BUCS. But with that, as you said, we'll get to all the other stuff on the main show this week, Ren. But I don't think we can't get out of here with at least mentioning and talking about Nick Folk and the whole kicking situation. Now, I know for you, the answer is probably 0, but I probably lost about 63 hairs pulling them out of my freaking head that night because I was so frustrated with Nick Folk, especially after last week where he had a rough week, but then he redeemed himself at the end of the game. But
right. All's forgiven.
Until this week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
He's right back in it.
Yeah, it definitely was not a lifelong pass. That was like, okay, there's your one bad game for the year, but you won it at the end. So, clean slate, let's go.
And then he comes out and lays a big old goose egg in this particular week.
No, he got one, didn't he? Did he make one?
It was like an extra field. It was like an extra point or something like that.
Made an extra point.
Yeah.
I don't think, did he make a field? No, he didn't make a field goal.
No, he didn't make a field goal.
He missed 3.
Yeah. He missed 3 field goals and he had 2 extra points. Yes, that's what he hit.
Yeah, that was, yeah. And I've seen a lot of things on, I keep saying Twitter because that's what it usually is, but I don't want to exclude any of the social medias out there about, trotting Nick Folk out there for the 31-yarder or trotting him out or saying that the onside kick was a bad decision. Mm-hmm. I will go into this more in detail because I've had some back and forth, some pretty lengthy back and forth on Twitter about both those things. But very quickly, as far as the field goals go, they put him out for a 56-yarder. Would have been his longest of his career. He didn't really have a chance to make it. So he tries to drive it and he mishits it. Okay, no big deal. Then you put him out for a 48-yarder. He misses it. Okay. So really, he's only missed one. The 56-yarder was, less than a 50-50 coin flip chance. It really was. It was like, okay, maybe we can steal a field goal here going into halftime. It's not going to happen, but there's like a 10% chance. So might as well go for it. That's probably better percentage than throwing the ball in the end zone on the final play. So now he misses a 48-yard. You're like, okay, but it's 48 yards. That's sort of the magic cutoff number for forgivable makes and misses is anything sort of past the 45. So you're like, So you roll him out there for the 31-yarder. People are sort of arguing that why would you put him out for the 31-yarder? Because he already missed. Well, because he missed a 56 and a 48. He didn't miss something closer than an extra point, and it was the right call. It was the right play. You needed 2 scores. You weren't going to go for it on fourth down. Your offense has been sputtering. So let's, get these points on the board and let us get us within a score. And he missed it. So, and then the whole onside thing will be a very lengthy conversation about, before kicking it onside or kicking it deep and taking Brady out of the game plan or not, or
now. But it's the onside kick. Is that anything to do with Folk? I mean, that's Coach and it's Coach Cutter and Nate Katzer and those guys. I mean, folks.
That goes back to the Cutter play calling. But I also heard someone say, like, why would you do that? Because Nick Folk's head's not in the right place for the onside kick. It's like,
oh, give me a break.
Yeah, like who gives a shit? He's a grown ass man making $750,000. Like, there's two things you practice: kick a field goal. That's all you do all day. You kick a field goal and you practice onside kicks. Which, oddly enough, I don't remember them ever practicing an onside kick during training camp.
And you were there for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, that doesn't mean they didn't, because they were way on the other side. Like, all the kickers, you were there.
3.
They were
and we were at the far side of field 1. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on field 3 over 100 yards away, and you're not watching them anyway. So maybe they did. Who knows? But I never really noticed it. But anyway, that whole onside versus not and Cutter's play calling, like, I've got a big diatribe to go over with that as well.
Well, so, listen. We all know, we all agree, your job is to make the kicks. You didn't make the kicks. Your job's now in danger, right? And at this point, we know that the Buccaneers are bringing in, I think the last report I saw is they have 4 confirmed people to come in and try out for kicker tomorrow, Monday morning, over at $1. Couple of different names that are thrown out there. I think Pat Murray is one of them who'd be back. Nugent is another one. Cairo Santos, apparently they're bringing him in to do a physical, not necessarily to do a tryout, because he is actually on reserved. He's on a waiver reserve, which means he won't even be available for 3 weeks per that contract, and that's just if he's healthy enough to go. What do you, real quick, we've got about 5 minutes left here in the show. What do you think? What do you think? What do we do? What are the odds of what's going to happen with the kicking position? Come Sunday. What's going to happen when we trot out to Arizona this coming Sunday?
There's going to be a new kicker. There just has to be. There just has to be. I'm sorry. I mean, it's a little unfair to the kicker because, like we say, Cam Brate had a bad week. No one cares. But every time Cam Brate touches the ball, it's either, points or not. That's Nick Folt's life. When he touches the ball with his foot, more times than not, 2 out of the 3 times he does it, because there's kickoffs, it's going to give you points, or you're going to cost the team points. And when you cost a team that many points and, just 2 games, I know everyone likes to say, just in 4 days, it doesn't really matter. It's been 2 games. It's just an anomaly. They happen within 4 days.
Right. It was on a short week. Give it a break.
Yeah. It's like, you miss that many in 4 days and miss any. You only miss less than that all year, and it's like that's dumb.
It sounds sensational. Yeah, I like people say like Nick Folk is 69% on the year and Roberto Aguayo was 70%, and I'm like, yeah, Roberto Aguayo had 12 games. Nick Folk has had 4. Come on.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, it's whoever they decide. There's like 6 guys coming in. I read the full list. I think the Rockettes are on there. And I think you're bringing in Edwin Moses, the 400-meter hurler, because he had a great kick coming out of the 4th turn. That's a track joke. Hello.
We're football fans here, Ren. We don't understand that.
Yeah, it does. I don't care if Nick Folk even goes up against these guys and he outkicks them all. You still take the guy who's in second place. Like, you just have to, because you have to. I mean, if you don't, Nick Foles has to make every extra point, every kick under 50 yards for the rest of the year.
Or your job's on the line, Jason.
Or you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
Basically, that's it. If you get a new guy, and this is sort of, like a coach's philosophy. It's like you're a new head, you're a head coach and you got the new rookie quarterback. Well, when do you start him? When I'm about to lose my job.
Right.
That's when I start the rookie quarterback and like sort of, we can start all
John
over.
Fox in Chicago.
Yeah. Like this part of the season didn't count. We were just getting this guy ready. Okay, here we go now. And that's sort of, it's like if Jason Light, puts his reputation or puts his stamp of approval on Nick Folk again, it's just a bad look. And so you can't do it. I don't care if Nick Folk, like I said, outkicks the other 6 that come in, or even if I don't even know if he's going to go up against them. They're just keeping him around until, maybe Monday afternoon they go, okay, number 3, you're the winner. Somebody go tell Nick he's fired. Like, it may be that simple.
Somebody tell Nick, go see the coach and bring your play sheet.
Yeah. Yeah. See the coach, bring your play book.
He doesn't need the whole book. He doesn't need the whole book. He needs a sheet.
So,
okay.
I saw in the chat room where Atlanta Bucs fan wanted a preview of sort of
your little VH3.
VH3.
Yeah.
Basically, the million. I'm not going to give a preview, but the $1 million question is it scheme or is it him? Like, why is he playing so far off? And everyone seems to be like, pulling your hair out with Nick Folk, also pulling your hair out with VH3. Like, why are you playing so soft? Why are you playing so far off? So the big question is it him? Is he refusing to play closer, or because of injuries and the teams we were playing at the time? That was sort of the defense Mike Smith wanted to go with.
That was his assignment, so to speak.
Yeah, like you need to play 10 yards off because we are very our linebackers, which are fantastic against the run, can't cover with the shit. So you got to keep your receiver in front of you. Got to keep everything in front of you because the middle of the field is going to be open, and you need to help these guys. I can't have your back to the line of scrimmage against the Patriots and Tom Brady. I just can't have it, or they're going to kill us. Maybe that might be a little bit of a preview.
Maybe. All right. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up. We will certainly have more of this VH3 talk. We'll get back and we'll actually finish that conversation, Ren, that we started about Doug Martin. And, certainly by the time we record, hopefully we'll know by then who the new kicker will be. Although I'm just going to throw this out there. I said this on Twitter. Call me crazy. I feel like there's a 20% chance that Nick Folk could still be our kicker come this Sunday. But the caveat to that, the little asterisk to that is, if they sign somebody like Cairo Santos, who is injured, I think they'll keep Nick until Cairo can actually come in and be the new kicker. That's the caveat that I have to that. But I do feel like there is at least a chance. I really do feel like there's at least a chance. Small.
And that still sort of falls in the caveat of the coaching. It's like, yeah, okay, we're sticking with this guy right now, but don't worry, the rookie's coming.
Right.
The rookie's coming. So if this guy misses in the next 3 weeks, don't worry. It's not my fault.
Right.
We've already got him. That's not going to miss.
Yeah,
we're just waiting. He's just injured right now.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, hey, listen, I want to say thanks to everybody who joined us in the chat room, joining us live on Mixlr. It was a ton of fun to have you guys. If you want to tune in to future shows, you're listening to this in the podcast feed, as most people do. You'll find us here most Sunday nights, 9 o'clock, at Mixlr.com. That's MIXLR.com/the Pewtercast. And you can always call in. That number is 864-729-BUCS. That's 864-729-2827. And, oh, by the way, if you want to call in and give us your take and talk to us a little bit, you can still call in through the week and leave us a voicemail. And, we have this nice little fun section called our fan interaction segment in our main show. We'll probably play it then. So you guys can always feel free to do that. Leave us a voicemail if you'd like to on that line, 864-729-BUCS. We'd love to hear your voice. Well, Ren, as we get out of here, why don't you give everybody a quick little deal on where they can find you on the internet and what they can expect from you this week.
Yeah, I do 2 weekly columns for Pewter Plank. You can find me there. I also will always be chiming in on the round table. That's sort of a general question that all the writers are given, and we just throw in like 200, 250 words about what we would do. It was a fun one this week. It was, what would you do if you were GM for the day? Like, okay, you have all the power Jason Light has. You go in there, what would you do? Like, you're going to go do defensive end. You're going to go get a cornerback. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a kicker, which it seems like already happening, but do you want to, trade for a young running back? So there was it was a fun one this week. So you can find me 3 days a week there on the Pewter Plank. There is an app if you want to download it. I also write for What the Buck, though I haven't really written much. I really owe them a big piece, which I have been working on, but not nearly as hard as I should. I really want to get that out this week. And then if you just want to talk Buccaneers football, find me on Twitter at RenDax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me personally at Brent Allen Live on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/ Brent Allen Live. And you can also follow the show on Twitter at ThePewterCast or on Facebook.com/ThePewterCast. You can also send us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We do respond to all forms of feedback. Ren, just out of curiosity, what was your GM for a day? Because you and I actually had a top 3 over the summer of top 3 things we do if we were GM for a day. What was yours, just real quick?
I said do nothing.
All right. Well, you guys can go to thepewterflank.com and hear Ren's
Well, it's because, okay, what do we really need? We need a defensive, like a edge rusher and another cover corner, right?
Uh-huh.
We'd like to upgrade somewhere at the corner.
Uh-huh.
And definitely we need some more pressure off the edge. Well, who are these guys? These teams aren't going to give them up. And my point was, I don't want to mortgage the future. At the very minimum, it would cost next year's first-round draft pick. At the very minimum. I don't think the cornerbacks are bad enough that we actually need an upgrade to cost a first-round pick. And then go through the other positions. What are you going to do? Quarterback? No. Running back? No. Offensive line? No. Tight ends? No. Receivers? No. Defensive tackles? No. Linebackers? Hell no. Cornerbacks? Yeah. Safeties? No. That's it. Punter? No. Kickers being done. There's nothing to do. There's no trade to be made that's worth it that's going to improve the team, was my point.
I think maybe the only thing you could do as a GM in that point is just turn around and instruct your director of football operations, Shelton Quarles, to send all his scouts out and find you that pass rusher and that cornerback for the draft. Other than that, you're hanging out looking for a kicker this week, and that's about it. All right, guys.
Honestly, sorry. What I did was I granted myself a lifelong press credential pass is what I did.
You granted yourself as GM or yourself as just Ren?
As acting GM, I granted Ren a lifelong press credential to the
Buccaneers. And you left me out of that. I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt.
It's okay.
All right, guys, we're going to sign off. You guys have been a ton of fun. Check us out later on this week. We've got the full show coming out, probably on Wednesday. It's about generally when we release it. Until again, next time, guys, as we always say, go Bucs.